In this video, we're going to learn how to take a specific site location from Google Maps and throw that into Revit. So here I've Googled a site location at West Delavan Street and South Barrett Avenue in Lake Delton in Wisconsin. These cross streets here are going to serve as the site for our location of our build site. It's going to be zoned for multifamily use, so there'll be multiple properties, rental properties on the corner of this site. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my snipping tool, which I can search under my programs. When I do the snipping tool on this Google map, what I want to do is make sure I capture down in the bottom right the key for how big this image actually is. So from this span to this span is 100 feet. Once I have that, I'm going to go to File, Save As, and make sure I save that to my desktop. In this example, I already have one saved here. So I don't have to save that right now, but you will. Then what I'm going to do is go into Revit. Once I'm in Revit, I'm going to make sure I have a floor plan for my site. And in here, I'm going to delete out what I currently have. So right now, what I have to do is I have to show my crop box and show the actual image here. This is what we're going to be importing in. And so to do this, under my site, I'm going to go to Insert, Image. I'm going to search for the image that I have. I named mine Lake Delton 125 by 173 because those are the actual plot dimensions. I'm going to click in and throw that image into my site. Here's the trick. I need to get this to be 100 feet. So what I like to do is go to Annotate, Detail Line. And I'm going to find out how much this currently came in at. It's supposed to be 100, and this thing came in at 60 feet. For me, it did, roughly. So what I'm going to do is roughly scale this thing up. I want to divide it by 60 and then multiply it by 100. So I can do that in one command. So I'm going to click on this image. I'm going to go over to my scale tool up here. I'm going to do a numerical scale. I'm going to say this numerical scale is going to equal 100 divided by 60. Hit enter. So it's going to scale it up by 1 2/3, or just 2/3. I'm going to click on this endpoint, and that's my base point for my scale. Hit escape off of that. Let's delete out that line that I had made that was 60. Let's go back to Annotate, Detail Line. Let's zoom in over here, and let's just roughly check if we're at about 100 feet, and we are. Now that I have that in, I'm going to take my image, I'm going to click and drag it, so that way my property lines up where I had envisioned it roughly on my site. And this will get us pretty close to where we want to be. Then I'm going to hit escape a couple times. If your image hides your actual home that you have here, make sure that it's set to background and not foreground. Notice in foreground, it hides it. In background, we're good. Then I want to make sure I crop my view. So I make sure that my crop box and my light bulb are turned off. So that way I just have my image here. Then if I go down to a site plan, if I make a new sheet, title it site plan, I'll have everything in there when I drag it in that I need. The adjustments that I can make though, let's say if it comes in too small or too big, if we double click on the image to activate it, right, we can adjust our scale accordingly. This is a pretty big plot of land that I wanted to show, so I'm really far zoomed out. I'm at basically 1 inch equals 60 feet. That's a pretty zoomed out scale. Once again, that's a pretty big site. The other thing I want to do is go over to my title with my render. If I want to throw in a map of that as well, it's kind of the same idea here, just we don't have to worry about scaling it exactly. So if I go over to Insert, I can go to Image, and I can find that image once again and say Open. We throw that on. What I need to do is drastically make this a lot smaller, and so this one I can kind of eyeball out and hit enter on. Oops. And this image here, I might want to end up cropping it later or adjusting it. And some things that we can do with this one is we can bring it into Microsoft Paint. What I think looks really good is if you crop it to the size that you want. So here I want mine a little bit more rectangular. and then I can draw a red box over it like you had seen previously. When you draw a red box over your site, um, it will highlight its geographic location a little bit better. And so here we can see that I was using a different Google map before for this project. And in Microsoft Paint, I just drew that red box over there. And that is a clear way to tell where you plan on building your structure on that site. All right, don't forget to save.